All right, I'm back with another video about misconceptions about the church. This one, I'm focusing on church history. I'm not gonna go into like details on every single event, but like let's get a few out of the way. The Mountain Meadows massacre that happened. People were killed by members of my church. Um, but the misconception that comes from that is that people will take that and say, "See, we're evil." And like if you read the history on that event and you study it, and I believe it's actually something they teach in elementary schools in Utah, as I'm studying to be a teacher right now, and that came up. um, and I made a presentation about it that I think I did pretty good. I mean, I guess if people requested it down the road, I can share that here on YouTube as well. But I made a PowerPoint presentation about it. um, but ultimately, where this becomes a misconception is number one, the church as a whole is not responsible for the Mountain Meadows massacre. Yes, members of the church, did that, but Brigham Young did not order it. In fact, Brigham Young, when he found out that it could possibly happen, he tried to notify people that you should not do that. They had sent a writer up north saying, "Hey, we've got these people who are coming through town. They say that they were part of the members that killed Joseph Smith." I believe one account says that they even claimed to have the gun that killed Joseph Smith. They were just they. I'm not saying they deserved it, but they were stirring up trouble, and it was making these people nervous. These people who had just been extricated from Missouri by force, by an extermination order issued by the governor. So, like, you can understand that they're a little bit on edge. They send a writer up north, from Cedar City to Salt Lake City to be like to notify Brigham Young. He finds out and he tells the writer, "You ride back as hard as you can, and you tell them to let them go in peace." And that is Brigham Young's official statement on what we should have done with the Mountain Meadows situation. The writer arrived a day too late. The massacre had already happened by the time Brigham Young's word got to those people. What had happened is some locals decided to jump the gun and go ahead and murder people, and they did a horrible thing. And it's truly awful history, which is why we need to learn about it. Um, this is stuff that shouldn't be hidden from you. Like, if you want to know about our church, you should learn about this. Like, it's important history. And it could happen to any culture and has happened to other cultures. So like, don't think that we're the only ones who have massacred people on accident. Um, but it's truly is a horrible situation. And then there's stuff about Joseph Smith. Again, I'm going to bring up information literacy. You have to know what what you're reading is authentic. What you're listening to, whatever it is, what you're watching, you have to know that it's authentic before you settle on that being the truth. And I can tell you right now that any non-LDS channel is likely going to mess it up. There are non-LDS people who have nailed it. I think Rough Stone Rolling is a biography of Joseph Smith that is written by a non-member that was done pretty well. And it's one that doesn't really focus, that tries not to go into the spiritual side of stuff. But I've been told it's a really good book by people I trust. I haven't read it, but it's worth a shot if you want to learn about Joseph Smith from a non-member. But keep in mind, the people who want to research things are the people who are interested in that thing. And most ex-members know that they're wrong, so they're not like doing deep research. They're trying to find these little outliers. And so when you get to scholarship on the church, most of it, if not all of it, is going to be done by people who are members of the church, which makes it seem biased. But like, if you don't have a love for astrophysics, you're not going to become an astrophysicist. And that's kind of the world we live in. So yeah, But you can do the research, look at these studies they've done. You can decide for yourself if they were being good at it or not. But do the research. Make sure that you are getting authentic stuff, not half truths, which is very common. Another one would be like Joseph Smith's polygamy. The first thing that needs to be made clear is that there is a distinct difference between being married and being sealed. Joseph Smith was sealed to a 14-year-old girl. There's more to it than that. Back then, being married to a young person like that was not unusual. He was not considered a child predator for doing that. Today's society definitely would have if he had been married to her, but he didn't. There was no sexual relationship between them. In fact, it's from what we can see from the historical record, it's highly likely that the father wanted their family to be connected with the Smith family in the next life, and so had his daughter sealed to Joseph Smith in an attempt to forge that chain. An example of this is myself. I am sealed to my children. And I think that is a clear as day example of what you can tell the difference between marriage and sealing is. Marriage is I am sealed to my wife and I am married to my wife. So I am intimate with my wife. I love my wife more than just a family member or a friend. I love her, in a deeper way. But I love my kids in a different, deeper way, and I am sealed to them as well. Sealing is part of God's plan to make one big happy family in the next life. So Joseph Smith. But let's clarify a little bit further, because Joseph Smith did get married to women, as well as sealed. I am not familiar with all this, but a YouTube channel called Keystone or Saints Unscripted, I think, covers polygamy. Look up David Snell polygamy. Awesome stuff there. You've got an expert talking to you about it, and they lay it all out. We're not trying to hide information. So I hope that this is this video has kind of made it clear that we do not. Our history does not always look squeaky clean. No one's history does. But we still are, like, that doesn't mean that we're not true or that we're not trying to be the church that Christ wants us to be. Christ, all humans are imperfect, and so Christ has to work with someone. And especially in early church history, you've just got a lot of people who don't know, who are converts to the church, who don't understand what's going on. They're new to the whole experience. They're going to make even more mistakes than we do. We still make mistakes today, but we definitely don't make as many, because all of our people who are in leadership positions are people who are strong in the gospel and have studied it for a long time, or are very good converts. Our church is not one where you can ascend the ranks on your own. You have to be called by God. But hopefully this kind of sheds a little bit of light on how you should be looking at church history. You should not be looking at it to find nooks and crannies where there's issues. You should be looking at it as a whole. Look at the bad stuff, but look at the good stuff. Look at the good stuff that comes with the bad stuff. Do research, information literacy. That's where it's at. I think I'm going to make one more video today. But yeah, hopefully this helped out.